So, taking a cross-cutting view, in many ways, professional and business services should have low barriers to entry, because at heart, all we are people with knowledge that we bring together for our clients. The reality is that there are barriers to us being able to trade, and there are four things that tend to cut across all professional and business services firms. And I'm sure that my colleagues will be able to give you more information, but the first one that's vital to us is being able to get the right people in the right place at the right time on the right clients. Because if we're not able to do that, then we can't provide the services that we need to. The free movement of persons has been absolutely key for us to do that. Well, it's got two aspects to it. There's the ability to service short-term projects, but there's also the ability to get long-term 2, 3, 5 year secondments in place to build our businesses in overseas firms. But there's also another aspect of it, which is the attractiveness or otherwise of the UK as a place to do business. So, for example, something like 1/3 of all global advertising is written out of Soho. That could be written out of anywhere. People come to Soho because it has critical mass for creative sector, for advertising and marketing. But there's nothing to keep it there intrinsically other than the mass of critical mass that's there. Already people from the creative sectors are looking to, in particular, Berlin as a great city to live and work. So we need to be cognizant of the fact that it's not just as simple as visas and quotas. It's about the overall environment. Moving on from free movement of persons then, the next thing that's critically important to us is that we have to be able to move data cross-border. So if we have multinational clients, we need to be able to ensure that we can send emails to and fro freely in a way that guarantees individual privacy but nevertheless creates a transparent data environment so that our knowledge can be passed to the places it needs. The next thing is regulation. So if you look across the four of us, if I represent accountancy because I work for Deloitte as well as the cross-cutting sector, then Mikhail and I both come from very heavily regulated sectors, and it's right and proper that they should be regulated. But it's also important that we are able to provide our services cross-border without fear that our regulators won't be recognised as appropriate. At the moment, the Financial Reporting Council is the main regulator for the accountancy profession and the auditing profession, and it is recognised as such across Europe. If it were not so recognised, it would be far harder for us to be able to do cross-border work. And then the final thing, which again is much more relevant to Mikhail and myself, is the recognition of professional qualifications. That is far harder to determine because all of us are, in our regulated professions, are regulated through professional qualifications and membership of professional bodies. They are set up in local member firms. They can only, almost by definition, regulate in respect of their local rules and laws, and therefore it's far harder for those professional qualifications, even though they are in theory recognised, to in practice be treated as truly international.
Well, Lord Chairman, just a couple of points, really just picking up on what my colleagues have said, because I think their answers are fairly comprehensive. I would particularly like to pick up on Sally's point about access to skills and talent as being a key point, mainly because that was the biggest message that I got from our community of people and from the Managing Partners Forum. If I could do a tag cloud of the words that came back to me, access to skills and talent would be the biggest words on that tag cloud, and that seems to be their biggest concern. And that clearly leads us down the line of thinking that free movement of people is important. I would support what Sally says about people having a feeling that it's an environment in which they want to come and live and work, not just a regulatory matter or a matter of whether we actually agree treaties to permit the free movement of people or not. And the other thing that I would say is that I think that this is a potentially more significant problem for smaller firms than it is for larger firms. You have some smaller firms where this doesn't affect them at all because of the area in which they're working, either the area of work or geographical area. It's not a problem for them at all. But the smaller firms that say this is an issue for them, some of them say it is an existential issue for them as to whether they are really going to be able to continue to do the sort of work that they are doing at the moment. I would just place a little more binary emphasis, if you will, on the effect that it will have on some SME firms.
Could I just have a quick follow-up on that? One, would the same availability of the skills and the same facility of doing business arise if we were like Norway as a member of the EEA? And secondly, could you rather more clearly define what is the difference, crucial difference, between you doing business in Europe, in your various specialisms, and you doing business, say, in Canada or the USA?
Okay, so if we talk about the EEA briefly, then intrinsic within it, there is the free movement of persons. So that would be, from that perspective, a good outcome in the main for professional and business services. And I don't comment on the acceptability or otherwise, or how well it coincides with the referendum result. But yes, I think broadly we would be pretty happy if we got to an EEA outcome, at least on free movement of persons. Can we do business in the US? Yes, we can. Evidently we can. There are frictional costs and administrative costs associated with getting our people out to the US or vice versa. It is materially harder to do so. And one of the reasons why we have member firms in the US or subsidiaries in the US with local recruitment is to get round the difficulty of moving the right people to the right place. Right.